Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is BryanCPSteele and I will be your nerd today and any other day that you watch one of my silly little shows. How's everybody doing today? Doing good? Buckle up, because today's a rant day. Today is a Bryan sets aside gaming stuff for a day and just kind of gives a little back, lets out a little bit of the venting. It won't be very long. You're not going to have to sit here and suffer, but today's going to be a good day, I think, for some of you. A lot of you have made comments recently that you like some of the episodes where I just sit and pontificate and talk, and it's like hanging out in the studio with Bryan. Well, today it's hanging out in the studio with Bryan when he's on a bit of a tear. So get prepared. But before then, let's do Week in Bryan. Game-wise, haven't really done much, actually. It's been, there's a lot of video games. Been getting prepped for an upcoming convention that fell into my my slot, into my schedule. And mostly work stuff. I'm painting some. I put some new BattleTech mechs on my painting desk to make sure that I stay fresh with the brush, so to speak. That's not true. That is not true at all. I did play D&D this weekend. I got to play Sal Sobersbane, my bar fighting drunk halfling, who I got to ride a dragon momentarily. An undead dragon, and I wouldn't say ride it so much as I jumped on his head and punched him in the ear a bunch of times before our paladin and ranger managed to dispatch him. So that particular game is very, very cinematic, very over the top plotline wise, like end of the world, like that kind of stuff. And we have fought a total of 2 dragons. One was definitely very, very young. And then we just fought a slightly older and undead one. It went better than I anticipated. I honestly thought that it was going to be, this is a kind of a preview of the big boss kind of thing. But it turns out it's just another just another horrible servant of evil. And I think so. Our dungeon master Albert for that particular game is very, very familiar with older versions of D&D. He's very good. He most of his world was born out of like 3.5, and I think that there are aspects of 5e that how do I put this? There are aspects of 5e that make the larger, more powerful creatures tougher for a bunch of seasoned players and characters. I want to say we're a bunch of 5th or 6th level characters, and I mean, there's 6 of us. I mean, like, it's a big group, but we handled that dragon pretty remarkably well. And I think that legendary actions. I've got a wayward mustache hair or something. My nose is just itching like crazy. I think legendary actions, definitely legendary resistance, would have been a big, I don't want to say big help for the dragon, but it would have been a big deal for the dragon to help mitigate some of the stuff that we were doing. And it came to us. It sought us out, so we didn't get a chance to go attack it in its lair, meaning it didn't get any lair actions. So yeah, I think that it would have been a much different fight if it would have been a little more 5E'd, if that's a word or a term. But it was still fun. It was a great time, and at the end of the day, that's really the goal, is to have a good time and enjoy each other's company, enjoy the story, and we definitely are. We definitely are. Yeah, I think that's it. That's not. I know that's not a whole lot of gaming, but that's gaming. I did get to go to Bacon Fest last week. This is it's less of a gaming thing and bleeding into personal. So weight loss is still going well. Still doing gym 3 times a week. It makes for some very weird early evenings. I'm not used to going to bed at like 10:30, but between having to get my son to the bus stop by 10 till 7, and it's across town, and between that and the general like needing to get the gym in and taken care of and stuff before I get back to the studio to start working, I realized I can't really stay up like I used to get a bunch of cool stuff done and play video games and all that stuff nearly as late as I used to. Adulting sucks, but if I'm going to keep going to the gym and I'm going to keep trying to do this thing, I'll stick it out. Speaking of which, I got to give a shout out to Luke Gygax. He invited myself and Natalie to his Body by Gygax group on Facebook that basically is a bunch of people who are gamers who are trying to hit some achievable goal. Whether there are some people there there's some people in that group that are straight up like bodybuilder types that are like, I'm trying to get my body fat percentage from 11 to 9 or 9 to -6 or whatever you do if you're a bodybuilder. And then there's a lot of us that are like, you know what, I've put on a lot of weight in the last few years, and I want to cut it down. I want to get it down. And there are a few people on there that are basically, they're just part of the group that are, they're like, yeah, I'm not really setting myself any major weight loss goals or anything. I just want to feel better. I just want to be healthy. And so Luke set this group up. Luke is very big into fitness and such. And he started this group up. I think there was some talk of us getting t-shirts or something to celebrate our being part of it. But from what I understand, it all started as basically people going, we only meet up a couple of times a year. We only see each other a couple of times a year. And as friends, we should probably try to help each other and prop each other up and support each other, and let everybody know, hey, you're doing good, you're doing a good job. Or if you start to falter, hey, it's okay, people have rough weeks, hit it again next week, that kind of thing. And the concept being that at GaryCon in March, we're, as many of us as we can, we're going to get together and have a little celebration for all the good things that we've done. So it's a valiant effort. Do I ever want to be, buff or muscle bound or anything? Not really. I just really kind of want to be healthier. I just want to lose some of this weight so I'm not exhausted when I go to shows. And in that grand scheme of things, I want to be around to be active and healthy, and see my kids go on to do great things. So that is the extent of it. So that's pretty much personal stuff. I mentioned Bacon Fest. Yeah. So Bacon Fest is a local. There's a local town that once a year holds this. It's put on by the American Packer Society or the Meat Packing Society or something. But basically, it is a celebration of all things bacon, and that was most obviously cheat day on the diet. So it was go there, drink lemonade, drink beer, and eat various bacon and bacon themed, food products. It was pretty fantastic. It was hot. But it wasn't as hot as it could have been. The good old Indiana temperatures dipped just a little bit before, for us to go out and do that. We were only there for a couple hours, but it was a good time. We had a good time. Let's see what else. Personal life. That's really it. Not to be like boring, but kids are back in school, so there's a lot of focus there. Work has been very very hectic. So let's lead on into work talk. Work talk is so good old evil genius is taking really good care of me. We are putting together a bunch of really cool products, and it's pretty rad to see everything come together the way it's supposed to, or at least the way I feel that things should be coming together. I will say this: it's kind of hard sometimes for. It's kind of hard sometimes for me when we get together with people, or because I've only been with this company now for like 5 months, I think, 5 or 6 months, and if even that, probably 4 months. But I've been with the company long enough now that we have projects that are ongoing, we have projects that are upcoming, we have projects that are secret and hidden because they're legally we can't talk about them yet, and it's kind of tough sometimes when I'm starting to get more FaceTime on places and start to talk to more people about Evil Genius stuff, and then they're like, oh really, what have you done? And everything that I've done recently has all been Renegade stuff. All my books releases, everything like that, it's all been with a different company. So I will be looking forward to next year when we will drop a bunch of stuff that I've had, either writing in, or I've produced, or I orchestrated the creation of, like that sort of thing. So I'm really excited about that. Speaking of produced, so the producer role, my official title, it's different. I am not creating as much as I was. I am orchestrating the creation of, I'm planning the creation of, I'm making final call judgments on what gets created and what doesn't. But when it comes to the actual words on the page, I'm getting a little less of that, and it's still something I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to feel it out as to where that happy medium is. Now the good news is that being the executive producer of science fiction games at Evil Genius Games is it means when products come, when we start to plan the products, when we start to figure out what we're going to put in there, I actually get to tell the writers and the devs and stuff what's going in and who's working on what. So if there's a particular section that I really want to do, like let's say there's an upcoming game and it's got let's say I do sci-fi stuff, so it's got aliens, it's got some aliens in it, and I really want to be the one that creates the aliens. It's a Siri or a it's an Alexa thing. It's a note that where my wife tells me that she loves me at 9 o'clock every morning, automated through the robot. I should have timed that better, but isn't that cute, everybody? Isn't that adorable? If you're friends with Natalie on Facebook, you should absolutely go or on Instagram, you should go send her the "Aw, you're so cute." So what I was saying before the robot interrupted me. Oh, let's say that there's a sci-fi game or something that I'm like, you know what? I really want to make the rules for all the aliens. I have final call on that. That's me. This is my project. This is my plan. I am the executive producer on it, so I get to decide who goes what and where. The problem with that is that I have got so many things in motion. I've got so many tasks at hand that it does mean that I can't allot myself all of it. I can't be like, this is mine, because it might take me a long time to get it all done because I've got so many other tasks and duties to do. And that is really being highlighted right now. I'm working on something for Pacific Rim. And while it is super cool to be able to create all this cool stuff with the blessing of Legendary Pictures, talking to their canon expert, making sure that what I'm creating exists, that could exist, does exist, now exists, that's really cool. And getting to meet with those people and sit down and have kind of creative workshops as to what we're going to be putting into their world is very, very cool. It is a new and awesome experience. But it does mean that I have to know my limitations. I have to know that if I'm spending all day in meetings and sending emails, I'm not going to get 3,000-4,000 words into a project like I normally would have back in the day. Yeah. So there's that. So work is ramping up. Work is doing really cool stuff, and I'm gonna have a lot of really neat things coming out next year. Until then, it's a lot of work. Speaking of, so next week there will not be a video. I'm not going to get to make a video next week. And that is because I am going to the Alliance Open House. Alliance is, if you are not aware, Alliance is one of the largest game distributors in the country. One of the top 3, and they are right around the corner. They're like an hour away from me. So I'm actually going for Evil Genius to go talk to retailers, to talk about some of those upcoming projects that are going to happen next year. Some of our existing products, let people, because there's a lot of stores and stuff that don't realize that we've got so many cool things available that they could be playing. And it sounds like I'm going to run some, I'm going to get to run some little short demo games, after hours, and it's going to be a short convention stint for me. I'm only going for 2 days. But it does mean that I won't get a chance to record a video next week. But I will probably be able to, when I come back the following week, give you kind of the lowdown on how I felt Alliance went. We'll give you the kind of the review of the open house. I want to by the way, since I know this is coming out on while we're kind of in that realm of things, work and play and painting and all that stuff, and we're kind of wrapping up to the topic, the topic. I did want to go ahead, and since today, when this video comes out, it'll be the first of a new month, I want to go ahead and tell everybody the winner of the August comment raffle. It comes from episode 201, and that it is at Tamashikiri. I don't know. Hopefully, I think you're a relatively new follower. But so congratulations, Tamashikiri, or at Tamashikiri. You won the August raffle, and when this goes live, I will post on there so you can get in touch with me, and we will get your prize pack shipped out to you. Yay! I also have it on good authority that my good friends, our sponsor over at Turbo Dork, are going to be sending us some cool stuff to show off soon. So I'm going to get to do a product show off, and possibly a product, do a little bit of a giveaway on an episode to be named in the future, I assume. All right. So let's talk. Bryan goes into rant mode. All right. I want to talk a little bit about the Disney era Star Wars and the de-evolution of the lightsaber. I know you're probably saying, but what? How do you say that? You get Kylo Ren's cool fractured saber. You have, the new colors of sabers or lack thereof. I have been a Star Wars fan since I was a kid. I'd like to think that I am not a toxic fan. I understand other people like this, and I would never tell somebody that they're... I might in jest tell them that they're wrong, but I would never legitimately, dislike someone because of their views. Or be like, oh, you're stupid for these thoughts. All I can do is express my own opinions, give my reasons for why they exist, and hope that that the people out there have the same level of understanding about my opinions, and that they don't take it as a personal attack. So, lightsabers. We all know that George Lucas originally planned for his light swords to be very heavy. That's the reason why when you look at Episode 4, New Hope, when you look at Episode 4, and when Vader and Obi-Wan are fighting... Oh, by the way, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but spoilers. If you have not watched Star Wars in the last 40 years, or if you are not in, you maybe you just don't want to know what some of the new stuff's happening, turn it off now. You're all done. Because the rest of this video is me talking about Star Wars. So yeah, we all know from early George Lucas interviews, specifically right around when the special editions came out, the lightsabers originally were supposed to be very heavy. That's how he wanted them to be represented, which is why the choreography for the fight between Vader and Obi-Wan was so stiff and swords out and just kind of back and forth, and maybe one turn for momentum. They were originally thought of to be these, big, unwieldy, powerful weapons, because George believed that if they were that powerful, if they were these special super swords, that they needed to be... The cost of them needed to be that they were heavy and unwieldy. It was later described kind of like if you've ever done one of those spinning fidget spinners or a gyroscope and trying to move those around, how it's kind of like the inertia of the force that it's creating how that was almost like kind of fighting you, and that if it went too far, you kind of had to buck against it, otherwise it would flop back and forth. That's how that was originally described. In later, it became later on that part of the reason why Force wielders were able to use lightsabers well is because they had significant, specifically Jedi, why they had the ability to use them as well as they did is because they could use the Force itself to help maintain where these are going, to they sort of feel where it's going, as much as directing it with just raw muscles, and not having that ability was dangerous, because you literally have a beam of plasma, a meter long beam of plasma that you've got, that if it goes into the wrong position, if it goes into the wrong spot, you could hurt yourself. You could cut your leg, you could puncture the bulkhead. The original concept behind the lightsabers it was a very special, like he said, an elegant weapon of a different age, and it required practice. It required the different fighting forms. Later on, there was, in some of the novels and some of the hell, even in the Marvel comics that came out, They discussed more about the different fighting styles, the different stances, and that structured lightsaber fighting techniques, or those structured lightsaber fighting techniques, were what the Jedi Order taught as a way to keep learning, keep understanding, keep honing this practice. Very similar to like how different kendo katas, and George borrowed a lot always from samurai movies. The training regimen of like the different samurai and yaomen that would learn to use those sabers as an extension of themselves, have particular fighting styles, have particular, this is my attack pose, this is my defense pose. And it was always about, you've got your one saber, you've got your sword, you've got your katana, for lack of a better term. This was the extension of yourself. And then we saw in episode 1, Phantom Menace came out. Part of the reason why Darth Maul became as badass as he was, actually, I can even pull it back a little further. Darth Vader in episode 2, or episode 5, sorry, Empire Strikes Back, when he throws his lightsaber, and I guess he does it again in Return of the Jedi, on the Death Star fight. But regardless, when he throws his lightsaber, if you would have looked at it through the Jedi Order's eyes, that's anathema. That is, whoa. What you use the Force to propel a weapon, to you use your extension of self and you just chuck it at somebody because it gives you an edge to be able to hurt somebody with your lightsaber from far away. Like that was it's, for lack of a term, it's a cheap shot. It's what the Sith were known for, whereas the Jedi were all about learning to use the Force, learning to use their thing, and their lightsaber techniques exemplified that. The Sith were about making the Force bend to your will, become part of your passion. It is a tool to be used to further oneself, and in that extension, so is your lightsaber. It is just a tool. It doesn't need to be special. It doesn't need to be anything other than something to defeat and kill my enemies. Which brings me to the throwing of the lightsaber. That was considered a big deal. Oh my god, he can throw a lightsaber. It's the reason why in the original, not the original, but in the I guess I can make a gaming reference. In the D20 Star Wars, I believe it was revised. Either one, it was the D20 Star Wars, the one that was very similar to 3.5. When it had its Dark Side book. It's Dark Side of the Force books. You could have Dark Side feats and things. One of the Dark Side feats was throw lightsaber. And if you got this, you would earn Dark Side points for throwing your lightsaber, because it is effectively you're using the Force. You're not just turning on this thing and chucking it. You're using the Force to guide it, to keep it on, to make it a spinning weapon. I mean, like it's more than that. So that's that's why that was such a huge moment in the original trilogy, for as far as lightsabers are concerned, is seeing Vader throw it. Whoa, that's crazy. Now we go back to we fast forward to go back to Phantom Menace, and one of the reasons why, not only just because it looks cool, but in universe at the time, Darth Maul's double-bladed lightsaber, when he kicks on that second blade, there's a reason why Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan they suddenly have an issue. Not just an issue, oh, this guy's a bad guy. Obviously he's a bad guy, he's trying to kill them. but it is that he's perverted. The Sith yet again have perverted something from the Jedi Order to make it more efficient, to make it a killing tool. A double-ended lightsaber should have been, and at that time in storyline wise that was unheard of. That's for lack of a better term, it's cheating. The Sith were cheating. They were like, how dare you have multiple lightsaber blades and use it like a staff. Blah, that's ridiculous, horrible. It doesn't fit into any of the 7 styles or whatever. And that was like the whole point. I mean, obviously the whole point was it made a really, really cool fight scene and whatnot, but there's a reason why Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon couldn't easily defeat him 2-on-1, or how during the actual lightsaber duel, how somebody like Qui-Gon, who was an amazing swordsman, by the letter of the canon, how he was overcome is because the Sith were using a tool he's not used to fighting against. He's not trained to fight against. It was new. It was, holy crap, what the heck is this thing? He's got 2 lightsabers on one thing. And so this is then further. This is made. It goes a little further down the road, because in episode 2, when it was the beginning, no, it was episode 2, is where Anakin fights Darth Tyrannus at the end, and he uses the Force to scoop up Obi-Wan's lightsaber, and he's fighting like a Florentine style, one saber in each hand. The reason why this is important is because Anakin's breaking the rules. That's the point of Anakin's character, is that he is the chosen one. He is going to break the rules if that's what it requires to win, to become the best that he can be, to do what he is destined to do. He breaks the rules. And when he grabs that second lightsaber and scoops it up into his hand and starts fighting with both, he's got two different sabers. That is a huge breakaway from Jedi training. And if I want to get a little deeper into it, what it is it is a hint. It is just another, for the people who don't know that Anakin's like so. My kids, when they watched them, I showed them episodes 1 through 6 at the time. Eventually, we saw 7, 8, 9, but they watched them in chronological order, so they had no idea that Anakin was going to go bad. They knew that there was something about him. They knew that he had this inner turmoil. He's a troublemaker. He's breaking the rules. They knew that. They could tell that. And one of those things, if you were a little deeper in the lore or anything, one of the first signs of that is when obviously one of the first signs of it is when he murders the Tuskens. But then he's willing to skirt to skirt his Jedi training in order to win. And that's what that Florentine, that dual saber style is. It's him going, you know what? The Jedi teach me a different way, but I'm going to win this fight. And that's another sign of things. And then a little thing called Knights of the Old Republic happened. A video game came out that allowed you as a light side character in 10,000 years before, I don't know the timeline, but it was well before any of the movies, well before established canon. And suddenly light side users, members of the Jedi Order, were You could have a double-ended lightsaber. You could have two lightsabers. You could have lightsaber nunchucks. Terrace Kazi. You could do all these ridiculous things with lightsabers because it was a money grab. It was cool. Everybody loves Darth Maul because he's rad looking. He was the first one to use this double-ended lightsaber awesomeness. Well, I don't want to be a bad guy. I want to be a good guy, but still look this cool. So the video game companies, LucasArts at the time, gave it to him. They were like, okay, whatever. And in doing so, they removed that whole Jedi Order training regimen. They took the gas out of the tank for this progression of Sith using lightsabers in ways that Jedi don't expect, and that's how they get one over on them. Seeing Anakin start to use these other techniques. And then later on, we even get Ahsoka, who is just allowed to use two lightsabers while she's a Padawan. Just whatever. I guess you use two lightsabers now, and I understand that in theory it could be that Anakin was a bad teacher and was like, yeah, whatever, just fight to win. But we never saw that. We never were given that. We actually were shown more often than not that Anakin tried to keep her on the straight and narrow, and it was one of his failings. And in doing so, it was just another sign of Ahsoka basically being like, oh, well, you were the chosen one, you were special, you were the rebel, well, now I'm the rebel, I'm the one. Dave Filoni and made Ahsoka into the new Anakin. She leaves the Jedi Order because she sees the corruption in it. She basically, all the things that led to Anakin's downfall, Ahsoka just bounces back from. There's a reason why I can't stand characters like Ahsoka and Arya from Game of Thrones. It is an unbelievable set of circumstances that, Anakin is in a world where prophecy is legitimate. Anakin is the chosen one. It does not mean what you think it means. His fall to darkness, his resetting the balance, was not what people believed it was to be. It definitely was not what he believed it was to be. And it came with his eventual, redemption arc, his eventual, gotta go through your dark guy phase before you can get to that last moment where that touching moment with your son, where you saved, Vader eventually kills the person who ruined his life. That's Palpatine. And he has a full and awesome arc. Somebody like Ahsoka is just, I don't want to sound mean, but she's just young and plucky, and all the horrible things that happen to her doesn't matter. Everything will bounce back. She never has to lose a hand. She chooses to leave the Jedi Order because she sees the corruption in it. And then later on, she just chooses to be a Jedi again, and nobody cares. Everyone's like, "Yeah, Ahsoka, you're the one." She uses this unorthodox fighting style. None of the masters gives a shit. Oops, sorry, cursing. It's frustrating. She fights later on. She fights Darth Maul, and Darth Maul, who in his backstories and things managed to kill so many people. He fought legitimate Jedi Masters, and this not fully trained Padawan turned Jedi Knight when no one was looking kind of thing, manages to defeat him. Not just defeat him, but almost humiliate him. And I understand it's a cartoon, and I understand that especially when those were written, Ahsoka became Dave Filoni's poster child for the best thing that can happen. It is so frustrating that she managed to get through that fight, get through all of this, not only as the plucky victor, but not even hurt, not wounded, not nothing. There's no loss there, no sense of challenge whatsoever, and that frustrates the hell out of me. It's one of the reasons why I cannot stand Ahsoka. Is she is everywhere. She does everything. She always does it, and there is no cost. And I know some people are gonna be like, "Oh, she's lost her friends along the way," things like that. But has she? I mean, really? She even fought Vader. She fought Vader, which is the Anakin, it is a cyber Anakin. Yes, we know that his fighting style has slowed down because of the body, because of the weight of the way that the robotic body parts work. We know that from ancillary materials. And some people might say that perhaps he took it easy on her because that's his old Padawan. When she denied him, she should have never lived through that engagement. All right, I'm getting off on an anti-Ahsoka tangent, and that's not what I meant. I'm supposed to be talking about lightsabers. So, but you know what? I will use that as a carry into a new aspect in the last couple years of lightsaber lore that I thoroughly disagree with, and I think that it is one of the dumbest things that I've heard of in a long time. So back in the day, lightsabers were built by a Padawan. That was part of your training process. Part of you to build your own lightsaber. It made it it connected you to it, and so forth and so on. It's a very big spiritual process about selecting the correct crystal. How it. You kind of, the force led you to the crystal that you needed, so forth and so on. And the color of your lightsaber was just determined by your crystal. Like certain crystals called to certain people. And it's the reason why Mace Windu is the only purple lightsaber. Lore-wise, originally it's because he was very special, and that purple crystal, or the purple emitting crystal, was special that called to him. Apparently, someone has said that now it's because it started out blue and started to leach into the red because he uses the dark side, or whatever. I don't know. But it was the reason why the majority of lightsabers were blue, green, and yellow. Because those were the most predominant crystals that people used. The reason why Siths were red, scarlet red, the whole time, all the time, no variation, they were red. It wasn't because red crystals called to them, and it wasn't because regular crystals got infused with their hatred. No, it was that they had these like, again, Sith were all about making the Force, making their tools, making the things serve them. So they created I don't remember what it was called, a hate furnace. I think it was a hate furnace, or hate forge or something. But basically, they synthetically created these crystals, and the synthetic created crystals always emitted these scarlet lightsaber beams. And so it wasn't that it was because of their dark side use, or it wasn't because they only hateful crystals called to them. It was because they were cheating. They were, again, just like the Jedi Order would go and make this giant big pilgrimage, this thing to make, it's a process, it's a ceremony. It was all pomp and circumstance to help train the mind to make the thing, to make the weapon yours. The Sith were like, no, we'll just hit a button, make lightsaber. And that was one of their edges. It's the reason why they were able to make things like double-ended lightsabers, or have characters like Asajj Ventress with 2 lightsabers on their person, because it wasn't a spiritual process. It wasn't a ceremony. It was a way for the Sith to get one over on the Jedi. Was we'll just make our lightsabers. We'll make more. In fact, in one of the novels, there's a creature, some of this robot thing. It was kind of dumb collectively, but like it had lightsabers that came out of its kneecaps and things. I mean, like, you think I'm kidding, but I don't remember what it was called, but I remember reading it and having to read the section 2 or 3 times going, did it say knee lightsabers? You know, like, but again, Sith constructs, Sith creations, Sith lightsaber equipment was almost just another way to come up with something the Jedi Order isn't ready for. That would be a way to tip the scales. And that's how it was through Darth Maul's Shadowhunter book, through Darth Vader's name, like where I believe it's just called Vader, his original book, the Dark Side, as the Dark Side supplements to earlier role-playing games. You know, this was always the way it was, is that the Sith made their crystals. They were synthetic crystals, and the synthetic crystals created these red sabers, and that's why the Sith were attributed to these scarlet sabers, because they didn't have the spiritualism that the Jedi did. Now fast forward to, I don't know if it was in the Ahsoka novel or something, but Filoni has altered how that crystals now have feelings, and the crystals get, you know, the reason why red sabers are red, or the reason why scarlet sabers are scarlet sabers, is that because it gets saturated with the hatred of the dark side user, that they focus on it and they pour all their hatred into it, and that turns the thing red. And then of course we have Ahsoka, who somehow in all of her amazing Jedi not Jedi plot armor stuff learns to heal the hatred out of the crystals, and that's why her lightsabers are bright white, the light of purity, blah blah blah. I hate that. I hate it with the same, all my crystals would be turning red, I hate that she's the only one. Of course, she's the only one that has these white saber, these white crystals, these cured crystals. Because you can't tell me in Yoda's 900 years that he wouldn't have figured that out. Or you can't tell me that Anakin, who literally killed dozens, if not more, Jedi on his in the Order 66, that in his purge, his Jedi purge, that his blue saber wouldn't have turned, at least if that whole theory of, Windows started to go red and that's why it went purple. You can't tell me that his blue would not have been red when he's just murdering younglings. That there wouldn't have been, previously we had Jedi like Kip Durin, who they went dark for a long time. Jaina Solo in the original Legends stuff, she went dark for a while. Jason definitely went dark, and none of them had infected crystals. None of them had their lightsaber blades turn red, and it's because the Crimson Sabers were always planned to be synthetic crystals. That was the thing. And then now, in an effort to try and make Ahsoka cooler than she is, Filoni came up with this whole thing about infected crystals and purifying them, and that suddenly their blades turn white. You can't tell me that there wouldn't have been other white blades out there. She's the only one. Just like there were no Jedi that had, there was no one during the fall. There was no one during that time that had crystals that got infected with dark side energy. Anakin killed an entire village, women and children too. There was no, and with his hatred, like you can't even say. Yeah, my wife actually. I've gone on this rant before. And my wife actually mentioned, she was like, well, you know, when Anakin became Vader and he was out just killing the younglings and doing the Jedi Purge, he didn't have his heart. His heart was not into it. He was just doing it because it was what was required of him by Palpatine. You know, he was doing a job. So, and I was like, okay. If that's the case, though, killing an entire village of Tusken Raiders, women and children and beasts as well, and openly saying, I hate them. That's the line. And his saber was perfectly blue. Nothing wrong with that. Nobody sensed any, it didn't get darker blue. It didn't, it's a dumb thing. And now it's being reinforced further that now there's these two fallen Jedi that have orange sabers. And when asked, is the orange on purpose? It's like not quite red. It's literally just Filoni going, it's symbolism. It shows that they're not quite, they're fallen, but they're not Sith. And it's like, come on, just give them lightsabers. They would have been cooler. It would have been more believable if they had just blue or yellow or red, or green. Don't give them red. Don't give them the Sith sabers. Let them stand out as just straight up evil Jedi. One of the reasons why Grievous was as cool as he was is that he just had regular sabers. He wasn't a Force user. He was just a robot a cyborg that had learned to overcome the sabers. To overcome the difficulty of sabers. Aura Singh, the bounty hunter who had sabers. She's not Force sensitive. She's got a computer in her head that lets her calculate things. There's ways to tell that story without changing 40 years of canon and then using it as a tool to make your new poster child cooler. All right, I got to get going. It's almost time for this episode to be done. But one last thing, specifically about sabers and the Disney era. Sabers used to be if you got slashed with a saber, you lose your hand, fight was over. You lose your arm, fight was over. You didn't. There was very little in the way of wounding. You didn't get wounded by a lightsaber. The fight ended. You could have, wounding you're not casualty. It didn't kill you all the time, but the fight ended. And it had lasting impact. And as of late, specifically the Ahsoka series, the Obi-Wan series, which I still loved Obi-Wan, by the way, but it had, people get stabbed through the guts with lightsabers, which should boil their insides, which is why Qui-Gon dies, basically, and they're just okay. They come back. They will be fine. They crawl away. They'll be all right. Now, obviously, there's a slight difference. The first time that this was really, really apparent was Darth Maul when he came back with his, bionic legs and stuff, his robot legs. And one would say that he probably should have died. You're right, he probably should have died. They turned that into a giant plot point of him putting together that weird spider body down in the pit, of him using his hatred to maintain his life, to rebuild himself with nothing but I will get him. It also caused him to go crazy. He lost it. Luke loses a hand. He has to get his robotic. He has to get a robotic hand, which is a story callback to as the, oh my God, I'm slowly turning into my father. It's an absolutely allegory. Anakin loses a hand, has to get his robot hand, which is just a foreshadowing of him becoming Vader. Everybody else that is wounded since then just gets better, just gets healed, and it's always a stab through the gut that should boil their lungs and make their heart explode, but they'll be okay. And the most recent transgression to that, in my opinion, Sabine gets stuck in the stomach. Yeah, it's off to the side. They did a good job of making sure it wasn't straight in the middle. But she is fight ready, like the next day. A little bit of squirt of backed up, and she's fine? Come on. At least the Inquisitor didn't show back up for, several episodes. At least the what's the woman's name from Obi-Wan? I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name, but the dark side chick who tried to take out Vader and got dealt with, the way Ahsoka should have. She is still alive, but you can tell that's going to be, that's like, the wound might not make a big deal, but she managed to get away. She managed to crawl away. It is frustrating to see the new series basically make lightsabers only special for plot purposes, only deadly to robots and nobodies, and now visible reminders that certain characters are more special than others. And it's frustrating. It is very frustrating for a long-standing Star Wars fan. It is frustrating to see Dave Filoni come in and make these drastic background and lore changes, and not really have as far as I can tell, not have a good reason for them other than it helps sell a character that can't sell themselves. All right. I know I've ranted a long time, and I know that some of you have probably already turned this off being like, oh, he's crazy. And again, the caveat here is this is all my opinion. Yes, I've stated a few things from interviews and stuff, but collectively, this is my opinion. And if you don't like it, we don't agree on how this works. Again, I love Star Wars. I love it to death. I will consume all Star Wars media. I just wish that most recently it wouldn't try so hard to be new and different, and sometimes you watch The Simpsons for The Simpsons. There's a reason why it's gone on for 1 million seasons, because the formula works, because it's entertaining, and because people enjoy it. Not everything has to be a brand new change, a massive overhaul, or shattering expectations. Sometimes you should just make what the people want, or make what the fans want, or find a nice happy medium. But that's just my opinion. All right, everybody, please stay safe. Get vaccinated, get boosted, wear a mask if you have to, wash your hands, you know how it is. Just leave everywhere a little happier than when you got there, even if you have to rant about lightsabers and your opinions on what you think is a terrible character. Everybody, please see you in 2 weeks. Enjoy yourselves and play some games. We'll see you 2 weeks. Bye, guys, and may the Force be with you.